Everyone knows the flood. The animals 2 by 2. The rainbow at the end. But almost no one knows what happened inside. 370 days, 8 people, 16,000 animals. All sealed inside a wooden box, floating on a world that no longer existed. But the hardest thing they faced was not the flood. It was the sound on the other side of the wood. It was the 150 days of silence, when even God seemed to forget them. This is the story of what really happened inside Noah's Ark, hour by hour, in the dark. And there is one word hidden in this story that changes everything you think you know. To understand it, you have to go back to the beginning. To a dry plain and an old man and a crowd who laughed at him. For 120 years, they laughed. An old man building a giant ship on dry ground. Miles from any sea, under a clear and cloudless sky. They called him a fool. They were wrong. This is his story, and the story of the day the world drowned. The world Noah was born into was not like ours.
You will pay for this! Get out of my way! Attack! Attack!
The earth was filled with violence. Every thought of the human heart was only evil. Not sometimes, not mostly, only evil, all the time.
To the king and his conquest!
A world where cruelty was normal, where the strong devoured the weak. It had not always been this way. There had been a garden once. A man and a woman who walked with God in the cool of the day. But that was long ago, and with each generation, the light dimmed a little more, until the world became so dark that God looked down on all he had made. And he was grieved in his heart that he had made it. Not angry, grieved. Like a father watching a child he loves destroy himself. Into that world, a child was born named Noah. His name meant rest or comfort. He grew up surrounded by that corruption, and somehow he did not become like it. In a world where nobody listened, Noah still listened. Try to see him as he actually was, not a stained glass saint, a man. Old already, his hands hard from a lifetime of work. His face lined by years of living in a world he did not belong to. He had a wife whose name the Bible never records. But she would walk every step of this story beside him. He had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. grown men by now. And in time, each would take a wife, 3 young women. 8 people. That is who this story is about. One family, not an army, not a nation. 8 ordinary people in a world of millions. What set Noah apart was a stubborn, quiet faithfulness.
The time has come. Prepare.
He walked with God, the text says, in step, in conversation.
I cannot do this. You must.
And that is a lonely way to live. To be the one person who still believes what everyone calls foolish. Noah felt that loneliness long before the ark. But he did not bend. And one day, God finally told him what was coming. God told Noah he would bring an end to the violence.
The storm gathers, but the ark is ready. We are safe.
The night is dark, Father, but your word is our light.
A flood of waters to wash the earth clean. Everything that breathed on the dry land would perish. But not Noah, not his family. For them, God had a plan. And the plan was a ship. Make yourself an ark, God said, of gopher wood. 300 cubits long, 50 wide, 30 high. A wooden vessel longer than a football field, as tall as a 4-story building. Reduce the proportions, and you get a ratio of 6 to 1. The same shape naval architects use for stability in heavy seas. A design given to a shepherd thousands of years before anyone drew a ship. 3 decks, sealed with pitch, inside and out. A single door, 1 window. And God told him to build rooms inside, or so most Bibles say. But the Hebrew word is kinim, and kinim does not mean rooms. It means nests. The ark was not built like a prison. It was built like a womb.
Do you see that? Building it right out in the desert.
It's impossible. What does it mean?
Madmen, I tell you. Wait, others are coming from the village to watch too.
Now Noah had to build it on dry ground, while the whole world watched. So Noah began to build. And he did not finish in a year or 10. The work stretched on across decades, close to 120 years.
I tell you, a great flood is coming, and this ark is our only salvation.
Nonsense. He's lost his mind.
No, listen to me, I have seen the signs.
120 years of hammering wood on a dry plain.
You actually believe that? The nerve of them.
I've never heard such nonsense.
For a flood that showed no sign of ever coming.
You think a ship will float here? Ha ha ha, look at them. They're building a joke. Years and years, still building.
Laughing at the fools.
They'll never finish this folly.
Imagine the first year. The neighbors came and asked what it was. A ship, Noah said, for a flood that God is going to send. And they laughed. Of course they laughed. There had never been a flood like the one he described. And the laughter did not last a day or a season. It lasted a lifetime. His sons grew up under that mockery. 120 years of doing right while the world called him a fool. No rain, no vindication, just the command and the aching work of obeying it. Have you ever obeyed God and waited so long you wondered if you imagined it? That is where Noah lived. And then, one day, something changed. A stirring on the horizon. The animals. They were coming, 2 by 2. 7 days before the rain, God gave the final command. Come into the ark.
Keep moving, don't stop.
Bring the animals, 7 pairs of every clean kind, a pair of every other.
The path is open.
And the loading began. Pairs of creatures, from the great to the small. Up the ramp into the dark belly of the ship. Noah was 600 years old the day he walked up that ramp for the last time. His wife carried the last jar of olives up behind him.
You think a flood is coming? In this dry land? Impossible!
She did not look back at the house she would never see again. Outside, the mockers had come closer, still laughing, still asking when. Noah had no answer. He turned and walked up the ramp and went inside. And then comes one of the strangest sentences in the entire story. And the Lord shut him in. Noah did not close the door. God did. The Hebrew word is sagar, the same root used for the closing of a womb. Once God shut that door, no one could open it. Not outside, not inside. On one side, 8 people, and every creature meant to inherit the world.
You see? Nothing will happen!
He's a fool!
Look, it's still closed!
He's mad!
On the other side, everything else. And then the 7 days began. Imagine those 7 days. The door is shut, and outside, nothing has changed.
Look at it, built on dry land. Fool, wasting his life. There is no storm coming, just a man and his box.
The sky is blue, the sun is warm, and the world is laughing still. On the 3rd day, Noah's wife pressed her ear against the wood.
I'll miss you. I know. Just remember. I will.
Her sister's voice, laughing in the distance. She did not know it would be the last time she heard it. The youngest daughter-in-law, only 17, did not speak for days. She sat with her knees drawn to her chest, watching her husband's face. He came and sat beside her. He did not speak either. They simply waited together. Have you ever done the right thing and found yourself completely alone in it? Not attacked, not opposed, just alone. They had obeyed, they had believed, and their reward, for now, was silence. On the 6th day, Noah climbed to the window and looked out. Blue, cloudless. Even Noah, 120 years faithful, even he felt the doubt. And then, on the 7th day, he heard it. A single drop on the roof. Then another. and a sound like the sky itself was tearing open.
The Bible does not describe a gentle rain. It describes a planet coming apart. All the fountains of the great deep burst forth. The windows of heaven were opened. Two sources, not one. Water from above and water from below. The floor of the seas breaking open, the world drowned from both ends at once.
Hold fast, everyone! Stay together!
Oh no! God help us!
Grab onto something!
Inside the ark, the first blow came from the side. Not a rocking, a lurch. Noah's wife was thrown against the wall. A clay jar shattered at her feet. On the lower deck, a horse screamed once and then went silent. In the dark, storm-battered ark, the animals slipped into a deep sleep. Their heartbeats slowed. Aggression vanished. The ark went quiet.
Do you hear that?
The animals are asleep.
It's not the rain. Something's on the hull.
Oh, God.
Like a great creature holding its breath. But the humans could not sleep. In the fourth hour, the sound against the hull was no longer only water. There were other sounds now. Voices. Noah's wife stood, her hand against the wall. Her sister's voice was gone. But someone was there. A voice she did not know. A stranger, dying. She slid to the floor, and she listened, because someone should remember.
So how do 8 people keep 16,000 animals alive through a year in the dark? With unrelenting, exhausting labor. Consider the water. You cannot carry it by hand to thousands of stalls. So the ark relied on gravity, channels and tubes flowing down to every trough. Ham's wife walked the deck each morning, tapping each line, listening for the water. She had the quickest ear in the family. No one told her. She simply knew. Consider the waste. 12 tons a day, carried down to the lowest deck. Composting pits that broke it down and became food for the birds. A closed loop. Japheth, the youngest, was given the lowest deck because he could bear it. And because he could carry grief without laying it down on anyone else. Consider the food. Grain in clay bins, dried figs, olives soaked in rainwater. And once a week, Noah's wife baked unleavened bread.
Salt. It's salt water. We're breached.
The smell moved through the ship like a prayer. It felt like the world before.
The seam is failing, son. We must seal it now. We'll fix it, Father. Tell us what to do.
On the 12th day, Ham saw a thin line of water. He tasted it. Salt. And father and son knelt in the dark and sealed the ark from the inside.
The rain fell for 40 days and 40 nights. And somewhere in those days, on the middle deck, a lamp went out. It belonged to the young wife who was carrying a child, or had been before the storm. She relit it. It went out. she relit it. The third time, she did not. She simply sat in the dark.
Don't be afraid. I am here for you. I don't know what to do.
Noah's wife found her 2 hours later. She did not ask what was wrong. She knew. She sat beside her and took her hand, and neither of them spoke. Sometimes the only thing love can do is refuse to leave you alone in the dark. And that too is a kind of light. Outside, the world was ending. All flesh died that moved upon the earth. And Noah only was left, and those with him in the ark. 8 people on a planet where nothing else breathed. Kept alive by nothing but the word of a God they could not see. And then, on the 40th day, the rain stopped. But it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of a world emptied. The rain had stopped, but the ark did not land. It floated and floated. The waters prevailed 150 days. No sign of land in any direction. Shem's wife kept the time. Each day, she made a mark on the beam above her. At first, the marks were neat. By the 60th day, they were no longer neat. Her husband watched her every evening and never said a word. It was the only thing keeping her tethered to time and hope and herself. And here is the part almost no one talks about. God said nothing. No promise, no dream, no vision, no sign. Just grey water to every horizon.
Something is wrong. I'm afraid.
We will face it together.
On the 100th day, Ham's wife spoke the sentence she'd been holding. He isn't speaking to your father. I know, Ham said. And that was all. On the 112th day, Noah looked out. Grey water, grey sky, nothing. And for the first time in a century, he did not know if God was still listening. What if this ark is not a deliverance, but a tomb that floats? There is a kind of waiting that tests whether you still believe at all. Have you ever obeyed God and heard nothing back for so long, you wondered? And then, on the 150th day, 5 words change everything. And God remembered Noah. In Hebrew, the word is zakar, and it does not mean God had forgotten. Zakar is a covenant word. It means to act on a promise. When God remembers someone, he moves, he intervenes, he keeps his word. For 150 days, he had been silent, but he had not been absent. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters began to subside. The Hebrew is ruach, the same word from the creation of the world. The same wind that first brought order out of the deep was moving again. The world was being recreated. And the ark which had drifted blind for 5 months, began to settle. And the keel struck stone, the mountains of Ararat. The ark had grounded. Shem's wife, who had not spoken in days, made one more mark. And then she stopped. She laid her forehead against the wood, and for the first time in 5 months, she wept. Not from fear, from something she had almost forgotten how to feel. Hope. But the world outside was not yet a world. Water still covered everything but the peaks. And so they waited again, 74 more days, while the mountains rose. At last, Noah opened the window and sent out a bird. First, a raven, a scavenger, a bird that feeds on death. And it did not return. Then, 7 days later, a different bird, a dove. A dove needs life. She flew out over the waters and found nothing, no place to land. So she came back. And he put forth his hand and took her and pulled her in unto him into the ark. A 600-year-old man, cupping a small white bird, drawing her back into the dark. 7 days later, he sent her again, and the light on the water was low and gold. And then, a flash of white. She was coming back. And this time, she carried something in her beak, a fresh plucked olive leaf. Stop there. Olive trees do not grow underwater. Long before Noah could see it, the earth had already been healing. Sometimes life begins again in the dark, long before you can see it. The leaf was proof that God had been at work in the deep all along.
Green. I had forgotten. Green. It's beautiful.
Noah handed his wife the olive leaf. She turned it slowly between 2 fingers. It grew, she said. That was all. It grew. 7 more days, and he sent the dove one last time. This time, she did not return. The silence she left was not the silence of fear. It was a world ready to receive her. On the first day of the first month, a new year, Noah climbed to the top of the ark, and he pulled it back. He reached up to the heavy covering he had not seen above in 300 days. Sunlight. Full, unbroken sunlight, striking the floor of the ark. Noah closed his eyes and did not speak for a long time. And somewhere below, a single sparrow woke and chirped once, then again. The first voice of life after the flood.
I have something to tell you.
Is it true? Are we having a baby?
Yes.
But the ground was still mud, not yet ready to hold the weight of the creatures. And during those days, Ham's wife told her husband she was carrying a child again.
Arise, go forth from the ark, you and your wife, your sons and your sons' wives with you.
From his line, generations later, would come Abraham, and, in time, the Messiah. And then, at last, God spoke. Go forth from the ark, and the door opened. And they came out. But Noah did not walk out first. the animals did. A pair of lions blinking in the sun, their muscles stiff from a year of rest. Young elephants, their feet sinking into the soft, wet earth. Antelope leaping sideways, birds exploding upward into a sky that had forgotten them. The whole breathing world carried through death, walking back into life. And then, behind them all, 8 people came down the ramp.
Thank you. Thank you for this earth.
The entire surviving population of the human race. 8. Noah's wife stopped at the bottom of the ramp. She knelt. She pressed her hands to the ground she had not touched in 370 days. She did not weep. She simply pressed her hands into the soil. And the youngest, the one who had not spoken for 30 days, walked past them. She reached a patch of grass. She took off her sandals. She put her bare feet into the wet, green grass, and she smiled.
Thank you.
For the first
Bless
time
this new earth.
in over a year,
Bless this new earth.
she smiled.
Truly a miracle.
That is what deliverance looks like. Not just survival. The return of joy. Noah did not build a house first. He did not rest. His first act was to build an altar. From the clean animals, the extra pairs God had told him to bring, he made an offering. And the smoke rose up into a sky that had just been washed clean. A man on a mountain, giving back the first and best of what he had. Because he owed his life to nothing but mercy. And the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man. Said in his heart, a promise God made first to himself. And then God gave the sign. He set a bow in the clouds. We call it a rainbow, a pretty thing, but the Hebrew word is keshet, and keshet is a war bow, a weapon, an instrument of judgment. And here is what Scripture shows in silence. A war bow hung in the clouds, unstrung.
The sign. Look at it. The covenant is written in the sky.
The promise, it's real.
Behold the covenant.
Pointed away from the earth, aimed up at the heavens, as if to say, the bow is laid down, the war is over. Noah's wife saw it first. She lifted her hand and pointed, and no one spoke. The promise was written across the whole sky. And now we come back to the promise made at the very beginning. That one word hidden in this story that changes everything. Go back to the building of the ark. Remember how God told Noah to seal it. Cover it inside and out with pitch,
It must.
the black substance
all we have.
that kept the water out. It was the pitch that made the ark an ark, the thing between them and the flood. The Hebrew word for that pitch is kafar. And kafar is the same root as kippur, as in Yom Kippur,
the Day of Atonement, the holiest day in the Hebrew calendar, when the sin of the people was covered. Kafar, to cover, to coat, to atone. The very same word, which means the ark was not merely waterproofed, it was atonement coated. The substance that kept the death water out shares its name with the covering of sin. 8 souls carried through the judgment of the world by a vessel sealed in atonement. The whole gospel is hidden in the tar of an ancient ship. They did not save themselves. They did not steer the ark. God did. All they did was trust the covering to hold. And it held. The strange thing about this story is that it refuses to stay in the past. Because Jesus himself reached back and picked it up. As it was in the days of Noah, he said, so will it be at the coming of the Son. They were eating and drinking, marrying, right up until the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away.
Can you believe they've been at that for 120 years? It's absurd. The sky is blue and always has been. They are fools, wasting their lives on an old tale.
The tragedy was not only the wickedness, it was the ordinariness. Life went on as normal. They had 120 years of warning. And they treated it as a joke because the sky was blue. This story is not only behind us, it is a mirror held up in front of us. The door that stood open so long that people stopped believing it would ever close. And there came a morning when God shut the door from the outside. There was a time to enter, and then a time when the time to enter was over. But here is the mercy that turns the warning into an invitation. The door was open for 120 years. That is how slow he is to shut the door. That is how much he wants you inside. So what are we meant to carry away from this oldest and most frightening of stories? 370 days, 8 people, carried through the end of the world. They did not sail it, they did not steer it, but the God who shut them in remembered them. The God who hung his war bow in the sky, aimed away, and promised, never again. And that same God is still calling people into an ark, one made of grace, still sealed in kafar, in atonement, a covering that keeps the judgment out. And his name, the New Testament tells us, is Jesus. And the door is still open. But in the days of Noah, there came a morning when God shut the door. If God shut that door today, which side would you be on? That is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to wake you. Come inside. There is room, and I will shut the door behind you with my own hand. If this story moved your heart, type "I believe" in the comments. Subscribe to walk through these stories with us, and share this with someone who needs it. And tell me, Which moment inside the Ark hit you the hardest? Because a quiet voice is still saying, I have not forgotten you. I am about to move.